Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. Today, I'm thrilled to bring you a new Leaders or Readers Wired for Success book club episode. In these episodes, I invite nonfiction authors to discuss their latest books from the science, self-development, and entrepreneurship categories. And the author I invited today is someone who has spent over 3 decades at the intersection of business, leadership, and human potential. Alex Chaparro is an ICF Certified Executive Coach, founder of Power Up Coaching, and the author of Dreamer's Guide to Achieving in Uncertain Times. What makes Alex's perspective genuinely different is the depth of real-world experience behind it. Before becoming a coach, he built his expertise across real estate, sales, and executive leadership, environments where the gap between intention and results has very real consequences. And that ground level experience shapes everything about how he works with people today. So Alex works with entrepreneurs, with creatives, and high-performing professionals who are ready to stop circling their potential and start acting on it. His coaching is built around paradigm shifts, the internal rewiring that has to happen before any strategy, system, or plan can actually take hold. Welcome, Alex, and thank you so much for taking the time to be on my show today.
Well, thank you, Claudia. I am really excited to join you. And I've been following your show, and it's an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy to have you on. Now, Alex, you have spent 30 years watching people succeed and fail in high-stakes environments, real estate, sales, leadership. What's one pattern that you have seen that nobody else is talking about?
Oh, wow. I think there's a race to do something. People are looking for relevant answers. They're looking for big answers, and the secret to beginning paradigm shifts is very simple and tuned into what a lot of people find corny is showing up for yourself. And so what I think that a lot of people are talking about is how to reach peak performance, and it's like a destination. When I think that the real conversation has to be is going into who you are rather than trying to find something somewhere else.
Okay, not trying to chase a metric, but finding alignment. More
alignment. Yes, it is. Yeah. It is all in you. All in you.
Yeah, totally get it. Now, the title of your book is Dreamer's Guide to Achieving in Uncertain Times. Why dreamers? To me, that word carries a kind of vulnerability with it. So what made you choose it?
Yeah, I totally understand, where that there would be that vulnerability to it. There's also other connotations that, it's kind of like your head is in the sky. You're not being serious. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's like this sense of, not being really connected to reality. And what I found is that was my greatest strength. And I had gone from a child, even though I had found success in business, I had gone through some real struggles. And what I always found a way to rebound or to solve the problem, but not really knowing how. It was just sort of an organic thing that I just sort of ended up okay. But I really started to look back to see the struggles that I've had and what was the guiding light that kept me on task. And it was always my dreams. It was always these things that these are the things that when things were the hardest of hardest that they could be, that I would get up again and again and again and again. And some of the struggles that I had that, we could talk about took over 20 years of setbacks. And so what is the thing that keeps you going when the world and every logical metric or input is telling you that you are not going to succeed, but you still wake up and you still do it, and you succeed at some point? And that's the dream. The dream is delicate. People can trample their dreams and they could be lost, but it is a powerful source that can be your guiding light. And that's where, when I looked at looking at what could be the title of the book, it was actually my journal, which I called The Dreamer's Guide. And it was my guide to be able to keep my dreams alive, to honor the mission-driven commitments that I've made to myself, and say that there's going to be resources, thought, and hustle and grit to make these things come true. So that was where partly where the title came from, and where the book was born.
Now I'm curious, if you want to share, what was the big dream that you followed for 20 years? I want to know.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had gone through a series of, like, one could say bumps in the road, but they were hard times in my life. And so I had went to visit a coach, and it was the first time that I actually went to a coach. It was, and somehow in the coaching dynamic, and I'm not sure where the conversation led to, but the coach said, "Hey," and she was puzzled. I could see the puzzle in her. She was puzzled, and she goes, "I'm just curious. When you were a kid, what did you say you wanted to do?" And I was like, and it was like seconds. I didn't even have to think about it. I was just like, oh, I used to tell people that I wanted to be like Zig Ziglar, and I want to write books. I want to motivate people, and I want to be a coach. And she goes, "You said that when you were a kid?" And I was like, yeah, I did. And then she's like, "Well, why aren't you doing that now?" And I was like, "Yeah, why am I not doing it? Why am I doing things that I don't want to do? When I had this vision as a child, and here I have the skills and the ability to do it, and I'm not doing it." So, but in direct answer to your question, like, the one thing that took me 20 years is that I had really battled obesity for 20 years. And it was a very slow progression. So even though, like, maybe in the first 5 years, it's just I wanted to lose weight and lose a couple pounds, and it each year it'd be very slow. And before I knew it, I was losing more and more mobility, and I reached over 450 pounds. And as people, I found out that the consumer scales that we buy, they have limits of how much they weigh. So my scale had a 400 pound limit. So when I went above 400 pounds, it stopped working. So by the time at that point, I decided, okay, I'm going to lose weight. I want to lose weight. This is the time that I'm able to do this. So I got a 500 pound scale, but I had already started to lose a little bit weight, but my highest weight was 450, that when I had a scale that I was able to weigh myself in. But it took me 20 years, and I lost maybe 75 pounds 6 times. So, because I'm a coach, I understand how things work. I've worked on projects. In fact, I learned so much about losing weight at 450 pounds. I advised people on how to lose weight successfully. I just knew so much about it. I learned so much about it, but I couldn't do it myself. And what I found is what I needed to do to lose weight. And when I finally found it, I was able to lose 200 pounds. I probably have like about another 60 to 80 pounds more to go before whatever target weight would be. But I feel very happy that what I have found in the 200 pounds, because at this point, everybody's going to be at a different weight. We are all made in different shapes and sizes. But what I have today is complete mobility and the ability to live the life the way I want. And that was what I was able to recapture. And so it was, there were several moments of awakening to be able to do that. But I will tell you this, that for me to achieve the goal, all the answers had always been right in front of me. And all the little levers that needed to be changed were very subtle changes.
Yeah.
The changes that I was able to make to build to regain and reclaim my health, to achieve my success, because the people who are listening here are entrepreneurs that want to make businesses of substance and to be able to have success and wealth and prosperity through their lives. And I was able to achieve that not by doing very much. I was able to just subtle adjustments. I was able to lose 200 pounds. I was able to grow a successful business and be successful and have the life that I want to live, not with a lot of changes. And that was what was the most, I think, a beautiful awakening that validated the power of the dream. Because that's where it was, because there was no big changes that I needed. It was all there. And I believe this, that your listeners that are sitting here that are struggling and are really fighting for their aspirations, their dream, their place on this earth, and the tools are right there. They're just so close. Yeah. And you could just grab it and make change.
Yeah, I totally believe in the power of tiny habits and tiny habit shifts to steer you in the right direction. And congrats on those achievements. Those are really big achievements. And I'm sure that it was tough to achieve those. Maybe can you share for the listeners who might be struggling with the same problem? Can you just outline some of those small changes that really helped you to lose that much weight?
Yeah, well, from a tactical standpoint, I created a very a tight sphere of influence. People who were focused on success and believed that I could achieve the goal, that had 100% faith in me and really cared. These were fitness professionals, dietitians, medical doctors, weight loss, because one thing when you're at that weight, you need to be checking your health. Losing that much weight could be unhealthy.
Yeah. Too
very
far.
quickly. So yeah. So you like I did my labs every 6 months, or no, actually every quarter. And knock on wood, I'm 56. This is the first time in 30 years that all conceivable labs that a doctor could do are normal.
Woo, great.
Are normal. Yeah. Or negative. Yes. There's a I got a giggle out of this. So like when they do scans on you, and when you're okay, they say you're grossly unremarkable.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy that I'm grossly irremarkable. That is like awesome. That's the goal, for when you're talking to a doctor, So, but the main thing that I did was, one, have a tight sphere of influence of people who could advise me, but it was when I let go. I had been trying to lose weight. I am a very goal-oriented person. I've built successful businesses. I've trained and coached people to peak top performance. So I know how to get things done. So you would think I would be able to figure out after 20 years. But I was holding on tight. And what the main thing was that I villainized and demonized my state of being as being, I hated the way I looked. I did not, I just really had a negative vision of who I was, but it countered because I was working to be something better. And what I realized is I woke up one day and I looked in the mirror and I said, hey, I love you the way you are. If you want to be 450 pounds, you're going to be the best guy at that weight. And you're perfect the way you are. You don't have to change. And I really just gave myself self-love there for a moment. And what I realized is that I was searching for the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized that the best version of myself was 450 pound Alex, because 450 pound Alex was the only, in that point of time, was the only person who could change my world and give me who I am today, not the other way around. So when I honored and respected who I was truly, then the dream could be. And I have to tell you, it was easy after that.
Yeah.
It was easy. This happened within 3 years. So it just, I mean, to be able to reclaim the things that are most central and important to you, to be able to get them back, that can happen with wealth. It could happen with your business. It could happen with your health. And I know that sometimes we're facing things that, I'm simplifying it. The fights that we have in life are complex. But what I found is that joy and happiness is not necessarily connected to how hard things are in your life. And
So
so I was like, here, I'm going to share this with you. I am successful. I live the life that I want to live. I can buy the things I want to buy, and I'm healthy. But do you know that I have the same problems that I did when I felt that I was struggling? It's the same problems. It's just my perspective has changed. It's exactly the same problems. So the answer there was very subtle, and it comes through, I think, to some degree, a level of self-acceptance, and also to be open and creative and willing to try new things. There was a point where I would say to you, Claudia, I tried that. That doesn't work. I tried it once 10 years ago. It doesn't work. Or, that's not going to work with me. I was like, Claudia, do you realize how hard my problem is? Do you realize? I would say, Claudia, do you realize that after 50, the odds of losing the weight are very slim? So I was like, I don't care about excuses. Like, in fact, I would say to anybody listening that the pathway to success is to not be focused on why things don't work, but look for solutions, to have a solution mindset. I could tell you, like, we could come up and conjure up any dream or goal that we want right now, and I could give you 20 reasons why it won't work. I just don't care about those 20 reasons. I just want to talk to you about the one way it's gonna work.
Yeah.
And that's where the change started for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think once you start those changes from a place of self-love instead of self-hate, then it's just all flowing more easily, right?
Yeah. When things are, I mean, it changes my perspective of what the definition of hardship is. And because as a child, I was diagnosed with dyslexia as a child, and that made going to school very, very difficult. And in fact, I'm gonna say this to you, and it'll be hard to believe, to think about this, but so basically, I had a first or second grade reading level all the way up to the 7th grade. So that was a very difficult thing. And the difficult part of it wasn't that I didn't have that I couldn't read per se. The difficult part was the humiliation that would come because of it. So somehow I was able to get to my reading level in the 7th grade, moving into the 8th grade, going into high school. So I was able to do 8 years of education, like into like a handful of months. And that's where the Dreamer's Guide grew, because I was curious to see how that was possible. How could I hyper accelerate and change everything so quickly? And it was the same thing with the weight. Like, how is it that this could happen? So I started to look at my journal, and I had created a framework for myself without really knowing. And it was, and I this was my personal form of therapy, that I wrote this journal and I turned it in, I called it a book. And it was, rather than being a journal that I was going to talk about all my problems, I wrote a journal called The Dreamer's Guide to Achieving in Uncertain Times. And I was like, okay, well, how am I going to navigate these moments of uncertainty and stay centered to who I am and be able to move forward with my dreams? And that was a very tough period, but it also created a person that was always trying to prove themselves and was always trying to outwork people. And so when I went to corporate America, I came in like a rocket, like bam, I needed to prove myself. And also I was what was called, non-disclosed. Like it would be like, for me to tell someone that I had dyslexia would have been like a tragedy. I just couldn't do it. I could not disclose. So when I'm 50, I find out that I have ADHD, and I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. All of this makes sense. And so I have both of them. And then, what was interesting is that I have a successful coaching practice, and it didn't become successful until I did one subtle change. Because when I became a coach, I went all in. I got my ICF certifications. I started my business. I just wasn't hitting traction, And then one day I decided, I'm going to stop living undisclosed. I'm going to let people know who I am. And my business exploded. So there is, because, I guess what happens is that a lot of folks with ADHD want to have somebody who has lived that life, who has been successful in business, and we're able to work through the challenges that they're having. And even as a coach, I'm not there to tell them what to do, but at least I have empathy of what's happening. I have an understanding of what's happening. There's context. When they're trying to explain something, I understand it. And that's something that's very meaningful. But what is, I think, extraordinary is that even with the weight loss and with ADHD and dyslexia, when I embraced who I was, then I could be the person I want to become. And it was a powerful moment. And that's what the dream of writing the book was. Because when I talked to that one coach, incidentally, I called her a few days ago, or no, maybe like last month, when the book was ready to be published and it was a done deal. The publisher was like, okay, it's happening. It's gonna happen. So I called that coach, and I hadn't talked to her in years. And I said, hey, when I talked to you that first night, I gave her my goals. And I said to her, I want to be a coach. I want to lose weight, and I want to be an author. And I said, so I just got off the phone with my editor, and everything I told you that night, I accomplished, and I thanked her. It's an immense amount of gratitude to begin that conversation, that the things that you want are possible. There's you just have to be willing to work for it. And the one thing that I think is important, Claudia, is that the pathway from A to B is a very uneven and wiggly ziggly line.
It is. It sure is.
Yeah, I will say this to you, that every time that I've embarked on a journey, and my vision of success is never what I thought, but it is so much better if you're just willing to accept and receive the gifts of the universe, and just, hey, the road is uneven. It's going to be hard. There's going to be days that you're tired. There's going to be days that you wonder why. But if you have, if you're honoring your dreams, it'll be the thing that keeps you going.
Yeah, I agree. Honoring your dreams and leaning into discomfort.
Yes. Well, this is a funny thing. There was a time in my life when I lived very uneven, and I was the type of person. There was a time in my life where I could work 7 days a week, 12, 13 hours a day. And this became decades lifestyle. And there's a cost for that. And it's unnecessary, to be able to live with that kind of extreme. But what I found is that when you have, when you are letting go is where you find the greatest strength.
Yeah, that's what often happens, right?
Yes.
It's so hard though. It's so hard though. It's so much easier said than done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there would also be a time where I would have said to you, Claudia, the greatest attribute that I have and what I can offer you as a friendship is that I can take it. I can take pain. I can take it, and I could hold the line for what we're working on. And so thus the pain, no gain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So ironically, when I lost all the weight, the way I was carrying it brought me to have 9 months of physical therapy because different muscles were all, I compensated here, I compensated there. So 9 months of physical therapy. So I'm doing the therapy, and the lady looks at me, my therapist looks at me, she goes, hey, and I remember she pointed out her finger, like, she goes, hey, are you in pain? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, well, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, well, I just thought we needed to work through it. And she goes, no, you got to tell me if you're in pain. And I was like, what? And I actually said this, I said, what, no pain, no gain? And she says, no. She goes, no, pain, you can't, your body adapts to pain and it makes it a new normal. You can't do that. And I said, okay, so then no discomfort, no gain. She goes, yes, you could have discomfort. And then, and it goes to your point there that we need to lean into discomfort, not lean into accepting pain. So what I do now is that I don't tolerate pain. I don't tolerate anything that's dysfunctional. And what I do is work feverishly to take care of it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
To address it. If I'm in pain, I'm going to go take care of it. If something in my business is not working, I'm going to take care of it. And so that became my new virtue, that it's not how much I can take, it's how little I tolerate and how willing I am to fix it. And that was the paradigm shift for me to be able to really build traction in my life.
Yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about lately a lot, which is we get what we are willing to accept for ourselves. Yes. And that's sometimes a really hard realization, because it just shows you how little sometimes you value yourself, because just accepting shit that you should not be accepting.
Yeah. I think that's for when we're able to find that realization, it's a powerful moment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Now, you mentioned the framework that you came up with for yourself. Can you outline your framework?
Yeah, well, in the book I go through, I actually put it into steps, and I also looked at it in the sense of having a personal compass, and where that compass is guiding you to, and to know what direction that you're going to. And I think that it comes to a process of reinvention. Oftentimes we calcify. The world makes us hard, and we create facades and facades and facades. And that's where people say, I don't know who I am. I've lost myself. I'm stuck. And all of these things is because we as a human species have great powers. And I think that one of the powers and that we need to be cautious with is that we're so adaptable. I can't tell you how easy it is that we could adapt to things that are just dysfunctional, and then we make the best of it.
Yeah,
we make the best of it, and I think that that's where we need to be able to, one is, this is an interesting thing, especially I saw it in myself, and I see it with people who are in struggling with great challenges. And what they're afraid of is losing themselves. And you'll hear people say that I'm afraid to go through any kind of treatment or anything to reach the change that I'm looking for, because I'm afraid I'm going to lose myself. I lost so much that I just don't want to lose me. And they hold on to what they have. And what I found is that you can never lose yourself. You can only make yourself better when you're able to take care of yourself. So the framework gives, I believe, a step-by-step process to be able to find that center, find that person who you are, to be able to cultivate your dreams so that they can be actionable. One of the things that I found through my years of being an entrepreneur is that I don't want to be or to lose the quote in my 1980s vernacular, the eye of the tiger. I don't want to lose that. I want to be a peak performer. I want to be the best in my industry. I want to be wealthy and successful. And then when I get there, I want more. And what I was afraid of is that if I were to start taking care of me and moving the facade away, that I would lose traction for the thing that I'm trying to reach. And the scariest part of my life was letting go to find out that is where the power is. Yeah. That is where the power is. And what I found is that throughout these years, I created a framework of being able to come to the core of who I am, to have an honest relationship with my mind, body, and soul, where I can really find what I want. And for many, many years, that vision of what I want was skewed. It was judged, and it was ridiculed, and people make you feel like you can't achieve your dreams. And so that's why dreams become some kind of secondary thing. Like when we started our conversation, it's like people think of what are, dreams are some kind of pie in the sky kind of thing, but the dreams are your identity. They're a mirror and a window to the soul of what you need as a person, and I have to tell you too, I have lots of dreams that are unrealistic too, and I love them. I have lots of unrealistic dreams, and I think it's great to have them because they lead to the things that can be actionable. And so we have big minds and big hearts. So dream big and love big. And the one thing I'll say, this is I think hilarious. So when I had lost the weight, and so I'm ready to do my first 5K.
Yay! Awesome.
And so I do the 5K, and I'm thinking, man, what if I don't make it? So I'm thinking, okay, because it's in my community. So I'm thinking, okay, I could call an Uber, just like walk up, or I could call my son and maybe he'll pick me up, So I'm thinking about like how far I'm going to go before I fail. Now, then I'm thinking, okay, I'm a mindset coach.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, visualize that you're finishing the race. So I did. So I'm visualizing the finish line. But I realized that I was visualizing that I was losing the race. That I was the last. I came in last. Out of thousands of people, I was coming in last. I mean, I was coming in last from the families that had like 6 strollers walking the race and back. They're faster than me. So then I'm like, why can't I be the champion of my dreams? I go, I'm a realistic person. I'm not delusional, but why can't I be winning? If I'm going to win anywhere, then why can't I win in my dreams? So I started visualizing, hey, you're coming in hot, man. You're going to do great. And so I did do well. I didn't come in first, but I certainly did not come in last. I did a respectable time. And what I found is those messages are so important. Because if you're telling yourself and you're visualizing yourself that you're going to lose, you're going to lose. And it's like Zig Ziglar said, if you can conceive it, you can achieve it. And I mean, you have to conceive that you're going to win. You have to conceive and believe that you're going to be successful. And if you have doubts, that's when you need to have a conversation within to address them head on. Because you got I'll say this, if anything that I could say about my book, the Dreamer's Guide and this conversation that we're having is be the champion of your dreams. The universe will set me straight. Like I'm going to shoot for the top, and the universe is the correcting thing. So I always say, you know what, I'm going to dream big, and my partner, the universe, it'll set me where it needs to be, but I'm not going to limit my thinking. Let the universe tell me where to be. And I'm happy with that. And I think that that's where you have a good relationship with nature, when you trust nature to put you where you need to be. But I need to be the driver and the advocate for who I am as a dreamer. So that's what my book is about. And that framework, I believe, will guide people to be able to achieve that. And whatever your problems are, whether it's obesity or you have ADHD or dyslexia, or people are coming in from many, many different challenges, and I feel that, and I hear that, and I've seen stories of success. And I think that this is an example that, the point from A to B is zigzaggy and uneven, but you can make it and just keep believing in your dreams. It took me 20 years. And I'll say, Claudia, if anybody had a legitimate reason to just pack it up and forget it, was me after 20 years, but I kept to it. And sometimes it's going to take you longer than others, but it is very satisfying to cross the finish line.
Yeah, I bet. Kudos, for sure. And I find it super interesting how much we censor our own dreams sometimes, right? Even though there's nobody else there to judge it, it's just in our minds. So as you said, why can't we be the champion in our own minds? That's crazy. Now, I'm curious, with all that you have been through, what habits have you developed that help you stay happy, healthy, and productive in the long run? So what are your non-negotiables now?
Well, I think sleep. And I say it jokingly, but many entrepreneurs, that's the first thing they're willing to sacrifice. True. They're willing to sacrifice their health. They're willing to sacrifice their time. They trivialize tuning off and doing things for themselves. So a lot of the things that for me are non-negotiable are the basic daily care rituals that many entrepreneurs start to sacrifice. And for many listening to this, it might seem, oh, come on, what do you mean, like sleep? I was like, well, I know many entrepreneurs that work till 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and then they're up at 6. And then they continue working every single day. I know that people who are living just moment to moment, paycheck to paycheck, because they're struggling and they're pushing, but they don't take time for themselves. And we are the first person that we feel we could sacrifice. I have this little exercise where I tell my clients when I'm coaching, I say, hey, I just have a question. And I say, I don't think about it. Just be like, tell me your instinct and honest answer. I say, hey, when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant says, hey, in the unlikely occurrence that mask comes down, put it on you first. Honestly, would you put it on you first? And they're like, well, it depends if my kids are there. Yeah. And I said, well, it depends if my mother's there. Well, it depends on if the person next to me has any kind of disability that I might need to help them. I go, so putting the mask on you is conditional. Yes. And I was like, okay, well, we're not talking about being on an airplane. We're talking about your life. And it's conditional when you take care of yourself first. And so those are the things that are non-negotiable for me. And also, every time I think I can't do something, I question it. I say, hold on, time out. Why? What is it impossible? I mean, really impossible? What is it going to take to be successful? And also, the non-negotiables for me are when I feel I don't need to ask for help. I think that the greatest strength that we could have as entrepreneurs and people who are fighting for their dreams is that the more people I can engage to help me, the stronger I am, the better I am, and the probability becomes much higher for me to be successful. I used to live undisclosed. I never told people I had dyslexia. I never told people I had ADHD. I never told people how hard it was for me to work in corporate America. I never asked for help. And what I find now is that you have to ask for help.
There's strength in numbers.
Yes, strength in numbers.
Totally. Now, as you said, you have the dyslexia and ADHD. What made you decide that a book is the right format for this, rather than a course or more coaching? Why the book? Just to show everyone?
Well, I have been a storyteller. So when I went to college the first time, I'm in college right now, so I didn't finish school. And that was one of my dreams too. So I'm on what I call the 38-year graduate program. So I went back to school to finish. And when I was in school, the first time I studied photojournalism, and storytelling has always been very important to me, and something that that's a passion, and I feel comes easy for me. So writing a book has always been a dream. And I have other stories that I want to tell, both nonfiction and fiction. And so it's been a passion. And what I felt was that my dyslexia and ADHD excluded that from me. And so where writing a book is just really who I am as a storyteller. And what I was able to find now is that I allowed myself to do the things I want to do. And that's where the book comes in. But I have courses and I do all those things, but the writing of the book is probably the most natural and thing that's aligned with my heart of just writing, is just where I get my balance as a human being. So that is when somebody sees the book, they're like, that guy's balanced. He did what he was supposed to do and what he wanted to do. This is something I've been wanting to do as a child, since I was a child.
So it's the truest expression of yourself.
Yes. I believe so.
So what surprised you most about the writing process itself? Did it change anything you thought you knew?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The writing process. Well, first of all, my publisher and editors, what patient people, because during the book, this book is the first time that I've publicly disclosed that I have ADHD and dyslexia. And so there were times where I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, and then so like I had to work that. They were patient to actually see me work these things out. Also, I was writing the book for 8 years. And once I decided to do it, it only took me 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, at any time I could have just started the 9 months to do it. So what I learned is that the ability to build traction can happen when you're ready. But the threshold for being ready is not as hard as I thought it was. Mm-hmm. You could just get started, and motion and momentum and constant movement is what gets you closer to your dreams. Thinking about it for years does not get you close to your dreams. You just have to start doing it. And it's messy. I wrote many versions that needed to be edited. It's okay, but you got to start with the messy. The messy is good. Just start working.
It gives you something to edit.
That's right. That's right.
What part of the book came most naturally, and what part required the most struggle?
There were stories that I wrote about other people, and there's two stories. And when I was able to talk about what I saw in other people, it was very easy for me to write about. When I started to write about some of the struggles of the past, was very difficult. And what I realized is that sometimes we live in the past, and the past is a reference so that we can achieve at the moment, so that I can manifest the future. So it's just how we use that information that defines what we can do. And but it doesn't define who we are, and it doesn't typecast us. I think that the greatest thing that I learned in writing the book was that the greatest power that I have as a human being is that I could change my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I could change my mind at any time. And when I realized that, it was an amazing thing for me.
That's freedom.
It is freedom. I never experienced that kind of freedom before.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. So last but not least, where can people find you, work with you, and get the book?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna. The book is debuting on the 29th of this month, or 29th of April. So I'm excited about that. It's going to be in all the usual places where you could buy books, but you could find the book on my website at powerupcoach.net. And then I'll give you the link where you could directly buy the book.
Perfect. I'll include it in the show notes. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today, Alex. I really appreciate it. And I had a lot of fun talking with you.
Likewise, Claudia. It was great talking to you.
So keep up the great work. Take care and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.